The following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the Tiafangi coming to you with what will hopefully be a successful review. And tonight, it's a double review, but instead of looking at two Transformers action figures, instead we're going to be taking a look at a Transformers action figure and something that is new to my collection. And tonight, the Transformers figure we're going to be taking a look at is the Transformers Star Wars Collaborative Mandalorian N-1 Starfighter action figure. So yeah, the Hasbro managed to make a deal with the Disney company, and they made a collaborative Star Wars action figure, which is the main character of the Mandalorian from the TV series. And the Mandalorian now transforms into his own N-1 Starfighter. This is not the first Star Wars Transformers figure that we've gotten. Way back in 2007 for, what was that? Oh yeah, the 30th anniversary of the Star Wars franchise back in 2007. Hasbro managed to make a agreement with George Lucas, who still owned the rights to Star Wars at the time in 2007. to release crossover Transformers figures that was known as Star Wars Transformers Crossovers. And for about 1.5 years, from 2007 to 2009, there was a handful of Star Wars Transformers action figures that came out. At that time, around that time in 2007, Hasbro also did Marvel crossover Transformers action figures. So, for those who think that the 2018 Ghostbusters Ecto-1, technically that was the first collaborative Transformers action figure, but it wasn't the first time that vehicles or characters from other franchises became Transformers characters. That started, one could argue, with the Marvel and Star Wars crossover figures back in 2007. But this is the first time in, I believe, 1.5 decades. The Mandalorian is the first Star Wars Transformers figure we've had for the last 15 years. And it's done in a style of box similar to the packaging that Star Wars spaceship vehicles are being sold in right now, at least from the Mandalorian subline of Star Wars spaceships. So yeah, there's the Mandalorian in his robot mode. He now transforms into his own spaceship. Unfortunately, in terms of accessory pieces, he has a flight stand that transforms into a shield and a cape for the robot mode, along with blast effect pieces. And unfortunately, even though, as you can see right there inside the box, there's the dome that Grogu sits inside of, but there's no Grogu minifigure here just to interact and make the figure more interesting or more accurate to the actual Mandalorian show. So because there's no Grogu action figure, minifigure that comes with this, some Star Wars fans who are also into Transformers that I've seen reviews of the Mandalorian action figure already, they said that the best Grogu figure that could sit inside the Mandalorian Starfighter is the Star Wars Mandalorian Black Series, The Child, a.k.a. Grogu, a.k.a. Baby Yoda. So yeah, I bought one of these off of Amazon, and the person I bought it from put it in this mint and seal collector's card bag, which I was surprised to see. You see, here's just a quick roundup of Grogu, aka the Child. He's got the frog that I think it's what, I can't remember, I'm going to say this right now before I babble on any further. I have never watched the Mandalorian TV show. I've seen some fans say that the first season was the best season, and then the seasons after kind of went downhill. I thought I saw a handful of fans say the opposite, but yeah, I have never watched the Mandalorian television show. I haven't been a fan of Disney Star Wars, the one exception being Star Wars Rogue One. I'm a fan of the original Star Wars movies that came out in 1977, 1980, and 1983, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, prequel trilogies, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. I like the first 6 movies, but the only Disney Star Wars I've really gotten into and I've really enjoyed, has been Rogue One. But apart from that, I haven't really watched the Mandalorian television series, so I'm not going to have too much to say about how similar this is to the Mandalorian's appearance appearance in the TV series. Just I'm going to admire the figure for what it is. And then, of course, I do know about Grogu's actual name due to watching, due to my parents being fans of the fact that Grogu's the same species as Yoda, and of course, a lot of after Grogu was shown off for the first time back when The Mandalorian first came out, and it was revealed that he was the same species as Yoda, everyone incorrectly has been calling Star Wars fans across the internet in general have been incorrectly called Grogu Baby Yoda, since he's of the same race that Yoda is. So it is a little amusing to me that he's referred to as the child on his Star Wars Black Series box. But yeah, this is a pretty nice figure of him here, and as I said, other collectors who have gotten this figure have said this is the best sized minifigure of Grogu to sit inside the Mandalorian spaceships. That's why I got this. So pick around of his box. He's one of 8 Star Wars figures in this line. I'm sorry, I kept calling this Black Series. Like I said, I haven't been collecting Star Wars merchandise for years, even though I'm an avid Star Wars fan. Unfortunately, lately I enjoy watching the movies more than actually buying and collecting Star Wars merchandise. So this is not from Black Series. This is known as the Vintage Collection, so I apologize for incorrectly calling it Black Series at first. But yeah, this is the Star Wars Vintage Collection version of Baby Grogu. And I love how they put Kenner's name on the box, even though Kenner has been owned by Hasbro since the mid-1990s. Nice, that's really great there. I kind of wish they would have put a Lucasfilm right here next to Disney's logo here on the bottom of the box, but since George Lucas was the one who created it. But yeah, that was a part of my childhood back in the 90s, was seeing Lucasfilm on all Star Wars merchandise. Nice, I miss seeing that logo on Star Wars boxes. But yeah, there's 8 Star Wars action figures in this wave that included Grogu. I don't know what year he came out. I was hoping to see, it might say here on the back of the box. Oh, there it is, 2021. So yeah, he probably came out right when The Mandalorian was first started. Alright, and I really enjoy this collector's bag that this person here put it in. It says that the bag was made in the United States. The collector's bag here was made in the United States. The Star Wars action figure was made in China. I know, what isn't made in China these days? Yeah, there's just a little close-up of Grogu's box, focusing on the figure here that we will be looking at here for this review, which is the Mandalorian Transformer action figure itself. So here it is inside the box. It's the N-1 Starfighter. Later now, there's the Mandalorian in his robot mode. You got the Transformers logo here, Star Wars Mandalorian logo down here. On the top of the box, just some detail highlights similar to the Mandalorian. Before we get to the back of the box, here on the bottom we got a bunch of disclaimers and stuff. You got the Star Wars logo right there. And this version of the Mandalorian Starfighter Transformer that I got off of Amazon, it was originally one that was supposed to be sold in Japan by Takara Tomy in their markets. That's why you've got this big Takara Tomy sticker on the bottom of the box, and you've got this other disclaimer sticker here on the back of the box, right next to the Hasbro and Authentic Transformers logo. So there's the Mandalorian Transformer in his robot mode and his alt mode. There's the blast effects being put on, and the the display stand that transforms into both the shield and cape for his robot mode. Transforms back and forth in 37 steps. And the tail section of his of the N-1 Starfighter transforms into his laser gun and his assault rifle. And he also comes with a smaller. Oh yeah, there it is. It's in this picture right here. He comes with a smaller laser gun. And so yeah, the Mandalorian's pretty well armored up, and like like most Mandalorian fans and Transformers fans, I agree that there should have been a minifigure of Grogu just to act with it, because one of the things that part of the transformation of the Mandalorian from spaceship mode to robot mode is you actually get the hover chair that Grogu rides in just like the one you get here inside his vintage collection action figure. So yeah, it's almost like they include that accessory piece, but then they figured, you know what, there's no need to actually include a minifigure of Grogu as long as we have the hover chair. Collectors can just buy their own like that, which is what I had to do. So it's pretty sneaky on Hasbro's part to do that. And say that if you want a Grogu action figure to interact with this Transformer, you have to buy one separately. So, other than having to buy Grogu separately to interact with this thing, yeah, I think they're both pretty great action figures in their own rights. So, even though it's in a collector's bag, the time has finally come to take these two things out of the box and take a close look at what they actually look like. Alright, so here is the Mandalorian Starfighter out of its box. And as you can see, I already put Grogu inside, so that's what he looks like sitting inside the Mandalorian spaceship. Grogu's ears are unfortunately slightly too wide compared to the cockpit dome, so if you leave him in there for too long, there's a risk that his ears could end up sagging downward, so be mindful of that. If you decide to leave Grogu inside for too long, there's a risk that his ears could end up drooping down. But yeah, it is the best action figure of Grogu that you could give that you could have interact with the actual Mandalorian Starfighter. So I haven't removed the rest of Grogu's accessory pieces from the box just yet, but I will put his little frog friend there inside the hover chair, just so it doesn't bounce around. But yeah, it's a nice little hover chair, little hover basket that Grogu rides around in. I won't take it out for now because the review's more on the Mandalorian, but I will say this: it is very screen accurate, and you can store Grogu inside. Alright, you can have him riding around inside of it. So yeah, pretty neat little bit of accessories for Grogu's use. So putting him back inside. Alright, there, as you can see, with this ear more than the other one, and the light from my bedroom lamp is not making it difficult for my camera to pick it up, but yeah, his ears the points of his ears are slightly too wide to fit perfectly inside there, but other than that slight drawback, I do actually see him riding around in there. So yeah, I kind of wish that instead of the blast effect pieces, you get pieces which are brand new for the Mandalorian. These blast effects haven't been released with previous Transformers action figures. I think instead of these blast effects, if Grogu had been an accessory piece instead, then the Mandalorian Transformer, I think it probably would have been more sought after than what it actually is. You get these two, so you get these four blast effect parts right here for spaceship mode. So you got the N-1 Starfighter shooting at its enemies while the engines are blasting at hyperspeed. And then you get this slightly longer blast effect here, so you can make it look like one laser gun is blasting more ammunition than the other. Unfortunately, there isn't really any other. There isn't a fifth 5mm port for any of these blast effects to attach to. So unfortunately, they can't all be attached at the same time. Since the ports are too small to be plugged onto the back of the tail fin at the very back of the spaceship. Even though it's and even though there is an engine sculpted right here, the base of these blast effects are too wide to actually fit in there. So yeah, that is here. I think the blast effect accessory pieces, as cool looking as they are, they weren't. I think they weren't the best accessory pieces to be included with this thing. And then, of course, fresh out of the box, you got the Mandalorian's pistol. There is storage space for, or it when you transform it into robot mode. But I decided to leave it out just for now, before transforming it. And lastly, for the accessory pieces, which is why the Mandalorian are in a starship. It's the size of, it's in between the size of a modern Voyager and Leader class action figure, but it retails more for a Leader class Transformers figure, and it's because of one of the reasons why, in addition to the blast effects, is this right here. You got a clear blue display stand for the N-1 Starfighter to sit on top of, and then when you transform the Mandalorian into robot mode, the base of the display stand transforms into a shield, and then the actual stand itself, open it up like this. Yes, and I'm trying to see on the back of the box. So I'll probably have to consult the instruction sheet. The center of the display stand, I don't know if it's supposed to... oh yeah, now I know what it's supposed to do. This is supposed to be the display stand for Grogu's hover chair, and then the outside of the stand opens up and it becomes the Mandalorian's cape for his robot mode. So yeah, you do get quite a bit of accessory pieces with the Mandalorian Transformers collaborative figure. Unfortunately, Grogu is not one of them. So apart from that, yeah, it's a pretty decent Transformers action figure. Again, I've never actually watched The Mandalorian or in a TV show, but I have been a fan of Star Wars most of my life, and so I can tell that the N-1 Starfighter, design-wise, it takes characteristics from the Naboo Starfighter from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and for what the action figure is trying to do, having the Mandalorian transform into his own starship, I think the designers at Hasbro and Takara did a very good job. Most of the collaborative Transformers figures, for me personally, I have enjoyed, so yeah, I give my thumbs up of approval for the Mandalorian as well. So, without further delay, let's hurry up and start to get this thing transformed into robot mode. Now, I normally don't show the transformation in my reviews for the sake of time, but one thing that I will show off is that the tail section of the of the spaceship, you take it apart and then you take this off, and as I said, the tail fin opens up and there's a little 5mm peg that flips out right there. And now it's transformed into the one of the Mandalorian's laser rifles. But then, right here, of course, and this is why I bought the Grogu Collector's Edition figurine, is that you attach this right here and attach this right here, and I believe you're supposed to use the Mandalorian's display base, and now you have Grogu sitting inside his hover chair. And so yeah, the hover chair for Grogu becomes a separate part. Alright, so that's really nice to see. And without further delay, let's hurry up and get the Mandalorian fully transformed into his robot mode and wrap up the review. Alright, and so here is the Mandalorian transformed into his robot mode, with all his weapons attached. I did have the laser gun mistransformed when I showed it off before, but yeah, there it is. His rifle is formed from the tail fin section of the N-1 Starfighter. I really love the head sculpt with the helmet. It is very accurate to his appearance in the TV series. And like I said, the display stand and the middle section transforms into his cape. ape. And then, of course, the base of it becomes a shield for him to use. But then, of course, you can detach it and etch it in. Here is Grogu using it now with his hover chair. So yeah, very nice display here with Grogu. And I kind of wish, and like I said, if Grogu had been one of the accessory pieces here instead of the blast effects, then I think this would have sold much better. But yeah, there's Grogu hanging out here with his buddy the Mandalorian. And then of course you got the tiny pistol. I did say there was storage space for it, and what it is right here on the right hand thigh of the Mandalorian's robot mode, there is a holster that the laser gun can actually plug into, and it can actually store right there. So yeah, that's pretty neat of that. Neat that they gave him that. So taking the laser gun out of his one arm, put it inside the other. And there, so yeah, pretty neat looking Transformers action figure. He's got a fairly decent amount of articulation. The arms have the potential to spin 360 degrees at the shoulder, but it's hindered by the back kibble here. Here, a swivel joint in the bicep, a hinged elbow joint, wrist swivels, swivel joint in the waist, universal jointed hips, so these can go out this far, so the figure can do a full splits. Forward this far, backwards only this far if you have the cape attached. Double hinge joint at the knee due to transformation, swivel joints in the thighs, eyes, and of course you have ankle rockers, and the feet can go up and down. So yeah, pretty incredible amount of articulation here for the Mandalorian Transformers figure. And for a size comparison, and for just to give you guys an idea of how tall the Mandalorian is, here he is next to the Legacy United Deluxe Class Optimus Prime. So yeah, the Mandalorian's in between the height of a modern Voyager and Leader Class Transformers figure. The main reason it has a retail price tag of a Leader Class is for all the sheer amount of accessory pieces, including all of the blast effects. You got these two big blast effects here, and then you've got, I just dropped one on the floor, these three laser fire blast effects on here as well. And then of course the display stand for the spaceship mode, which becomes the cape and shield for him to use. And of course you got the hover chair for Grogu, but unfortunately Grogu isn't actually completed. Again, I had to buy Grogu separately. So here's his actual hover chair compared to the one that's formed from the Mandalorian Transformers figure. So yeah, I'll let you guys decide which one you think is the more interesting of the two. So for the final proverbial question, do I recommend getting the Mandalorian collaborative crossover Transformers action figure and adding it to your collection? Absolutely. You cannot go wrong having this figure in your collection. I like the idea of the Mandalorian now being a Transformers character. And yeah, the fact that it's his own, he transforms into his own spaceship, and how accurate he is to his appearance in the Mandalorian TV series. Yeah, I really enjoy this figure. Transformation can be a little finicky at times due to how small some of the pieces are and how tight some of the joints are, especially when you transform the back of the fuselage of the spaceship mode into the robot mode eggs. But yeah, really nice. Overall, it's a very incredible looking Transformers action figure, and even though Grogu's not completed, that's something that can be remedied if you've got the time and money to buy the Star Wars Vintage Collection, the Child action figure. This is the perfect sized action figure of the closest sized action figure of Grogu that can fit inside the actual hover chair that is included with the Mandalorian action figure. So yeah, overall, I really believe you do get your money's worth with the Mandalorian collaborative Transformers action figure. So thank you guys all so much for watching. This has been the TFN Geek. and this has been my review of the Transformers Mandalorian Collaborative Transformers action figure, along with a quick look at the Star Wars Vintage Collection, the Grogu, the child, a.k.a. Grogu, a.k.a. Baby Yoda action figure. I recommend getting that if you're a Star Wars fan. I recommend the Mandalorian Transformer. Or if you're a fan of both Star Wars and Transformers action figures. So until next time, you guys, please remember to stay safe, stay healthy, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.